Hello and welcome back to Art Masters with me, Mrs. Portilla. Today we will be doing an architectural drawing, just like Frank Lloyd Wright, who was an architect. And an architect is an artist that uses science and design to create homes and buildings. So they use perspective. So when you're drawing a flat design, you need to use perspective. And perspective is how we show an object on a flat picture to show the correct size or proportion. So today, this is what we'll be working on. We'll be doing a vanishing point, where we're going to put a point in our paper, and then that's actually how we can show the perspective. And things to remember, things that are closest to us appear the biggest. Things that are farthest away appear the smallest. So for instance, when you have something like this, you could see this is the biggest, it's the closest to us, and the further you go away, it's smaller. So today we'll be working on our perspective drawing using our vanishing point, and we'll be using a lot of straight lines and rulers. So go ahead and grab your supplies and we will get started. All right, now that you have your supplies, go ahead and put aside the glue stick and the black paper. And we're just going to use our big white paper and our smaller white paper. This smaller white paper is going to be our template today for our perspective drawing. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw our frame. So set your rectangle in the middle of your paper and just trace over it. So now you'll have a rectangle. Okay, once everyone has their rectangle drawn, your frame, we're going to do our vanishing point. A vanishing point is a place on the horizon where our parallel lines are going to meet. So it's going to be our point of view. So for example, this is the vanishing point and everything is going towards that vanishing point. It's very important when you're doing perspective drawing. We are going to roughly find the center of our frame, and we're going to put a dot just slightly above the center. Okay, this is going to be your vanishing point. So roughly find the center and then go just above that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our lines. So mark on your page. You're going to go about an inch in from your side, about an inch in on the side. And now I'm going to use my paper as a ruler. I'm going to go from this point to the vanishing point. Light sketch lines, very, very light. And then I'm going to go to the vanishing point to here. So get your point, your vanishing point, just above the center of your page. Go in about an inch from each of the sides, and then you're going to lightly sketch these lines, and essentially it looks like a triangle. Okay, so now that we have our vanishing point and our perspective lines drawn, we're going to move on to some pillars. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to grab our template page and use this as a ruler. And we're going to do a vertical line, just about an inch or so from this edge. So you could do it however big you want, but about this size. Okay, and then we're going to do that on our other side as well. Okay, and then we're going to erase any line that went into our little perspective triangle here. Okay, and then we're going to do, I'm just going to, let me darken this, but I'm going to show you how to do all the pillars, and then you guys can go ahead and do it once I'm done. So that's our first pillar. Second pillar, we're going to make it a little less wide than the first. And I'm going to stop right here on my perspective line. Okay. And then we could do 3 or 4 pillars. I'm going to do 3. So I'm not going to cut into my perspective line. And if you do, you just erase. Okay, so I took my paper and I did 3 vertical lines, bigger, medium, smaller, and don't go into your perspective triangle, and then come back when you have that done. Okay, now we have our pillars drawn, the vertical lines. We're going to do a floor. So I'm going to take my template paper and I'm going to go below my vanishing point, like so. And I'm going to draw my floor. And now I'm going to come up and do a ceiling line. So let me show you a little better. I'm just going to go below my the outline of my drawing. You don't have to do a ceiling line if you don't want to. But I'm going to do one. Okay. And now I'm going to erase my vanishing point. It's vanishing. Okay. And I'm going to erase just a little bit of that. Okay, so go ahead and draw the vertical line of the floor, the vertical line of the ceiling, and then we're going to erase our vanishing point. All right, once we have our floor and our ceiling, I'm going to make my columns look a little bit more like columns. So I'm going to add a curve, and a curve. You see how this one, they're going lower. Okay, and then I'm going to erase. And you should still be able to kind of see where your vanishing point was, because we are going to still use that. Okay, so go ahead and add the curves onto your pillars so they look more like pillars. And then we're going to go right into drawing our floor. So it's kind of going to look like a tiled floor. And we're still going to do everything to our vanishing point, which you should still be able to sort of see. And we're going to lightly sketch. So now I'm going to actually start skipping the objects that I have to make it look a little bit better. So I'm not going through with lines. And now I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch, but I'm still pointing to my vanishing point because you should still be able to sort of see it. Okay. And I'm going to continue doing that until it goes all the way across. Now we're going to go ahead and draw the horizontal lines on the floor. The further away something is, the closer the lines are together. The closer it gets to you, the further the lines are apart. That's creating a perspective. So we're going to grab the side of our paper, horizontal, and we're going to go across. And in the back, we're going to keep them closer together. And as I slowly come forward, I'm going to slowly make my lines further apart. So go ahead and make your horizontal lines. Okay, so we should have our columns and our floors, and now it's going to be detail time. So I'm just going to do a little bit of detail, and then you guys are going to get creative on your own. So I'm going to draw a picture frame. So it's going to be kind of like we're at a museum. So I'm going to draw my large picture frame. This doesn't need to be in any sort of perspective or vanishing point. I'm just drawing a rectangle to use as my picture frame. Okay, and then I'm gonna draw a lightly colored, not too detailed picture in here because the further something away is, you can't see as much detail and it's not as dark. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add some details to my columns. So you can watch me and fast forward as I add details, and then go ahead and add details on your own. Great job with all your detail. Couple of tips. The things that are closer to us are darker and more detailed. So I added a little bit of darker lines on the things that were closer to me. And I shaded a little bit of the tiles and used a little bit darker up front and lighter in back. I drew a little sketch of a picture. I doubled some of my lines. And then when you're done, you can put your name right underneath your frame. Grab your glue stick and your black paper, and you're gonna glue your paper onto the black for a nice border. So great job with your perspective drawing using your vanishing point. All right, great job everyone. I hope you came out with a drawing that you really like. Things to remember, things in a perspective drawing that are closer to us appear bigger. Things that are further away appear smaller. And we used our vanishing point. And then that's where our eye is seeing. That's how we draw the perspective and the proportions to look correct. We learned that an architect is an artist, a very, very technical artist that uses a lot of straight lines. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time on Art Masters with me, Mrs. Portilla.